On May 11th, 2008, I nervously found my seat out on the lawn in the afternoon sunlight. It was a beautiful spring Saturday in Meadville. One by one, I listened to all the names of the people I had come to know being called to the stage, and I looked at their proud, smiling faces of all the friends I had made as they shook President Cook's hand and received their diploma. 554 people, the largest graduating class in the history of Allegheny College, had finally gotten what they worked so hard for over the last 4 years. But I wasn't one of them. That spring, I failed 3 out of the 4 classes that I took, including my independent capstone project, a research paper that I barely started. I hadn't planned on dropping out, but I could kind of see it coming. I barely went to class. I preferred to stay in my room all day and play video games, escaping into a world, any world, where I could be somebody, anything else. I drove out of Meadville the next day, and I didn't really have a plan in mind. My parents recently divorced. My mom living in a rehab facility because she passed out drunk with food on the stove and almost burnt our house down. I was too scared to even ask my dad for help, let alone if I could stay with him. You know, I don't remember how I asked him, but a good friend of mine from high school had a spare bedroom, and he let me stay there for a couple of months. But still, the economy was trash. I had no job, no prospects, no money, and all I could think about was that crushing, depressing weight of feeling like a failure. I was a failure. Unfortunately, I'm not the only person that could tell you a story like this. In fact, the year that I dropped out, 2008, 9 million other students did the same thing. 9 million other people dealt that same crushing blow of realizing their dreams of graduating from college weren't going to come true. You see, once you drop out of college, the odds are you're never going to return. And even if you do, you most certainly won't graduate. My story is over a decade old at this point, but I can tell you, as I sit here in 2021, it hasn't gotten any better. I wish I could tell you different. And sure, it may not feel like it here at Vanderbilt, where we consistently graduate about 94% of our students, but what about our neighbors here in Nashville? According to the latest data, the 6-year graduation rate at Belmont is 71%. At Lipscomb, it's 68%. Trevecca Nazarene, it's 56%. More troublingly, at our neighboring HBCUs, Fisk has a graduation rate of 50%. Tennessee State University graduates just 32% of its students within 6 years. Both of these well below the national average of 62%. The story these numbers tell is incredibly stark. But it's not just happening in Nashville. There are serious racial and gender inequities in college completion. The 6-year graduation rate for Latinx college students is 54%. For African Americans, it's 42%, a full 20% lower than the national average. When you consider gender disparities in high demand fields like engineering, white men are 6 times more likely to get a degree than Latinx women, and over 11 times more likely to get a degree than African American women. The college dropout epidemic in our country is real, and we as Americans have not figured out how to reckon with it. You know, I count myself among one of the luckiest college graduates that I know. After more than 10 years away from college, I went back to earn my degree in 2019. Now here I am at Vanderbilt, working on my master's in higher education administration, because I want to put my story to some good use, helping other students succeed in college. While my anecdote might feel pretty good to hear, it's tragically far from common. As I speak to you today, There's almost 30 million people in the United States with some college credits but no degree. The National Center for Education Statistics, the largest source of post-secondary data in the United States, didn't even start tracking graduation rate until 1996. And to date, there's only been one longitudinal study published in 2019 that has analyzed the completion trajectories of students who had some college credits but no degree. They found that just 13% of these students who dropped out re-enrolled within 5 years, and only 3% actually completed their degree. I would argue the single biggest reason for this is that these students are almost always left behind when they disconnect from their institution. Leaving college is never an easy decision, and deciding to come back is even harder. Yet the burden most often falls squarely on the shoulders of the students to motivate themselves to return. At most schools, there's insufficient support and a lack of institutional focus around addressing the challenges for students who don't graduate. A large number of institutions don't even have an office or a single staff member dedicated to supporting the needs of students who want to try again. Even if institutions do support non-traditional students, they often do so with minimal support in the way of funding or staffing from their institution. Frankly, if a college wanted to successfully support the needs of students who want to re-enroll after dropping out, there's almost no research out there to tell them how to do it. There is some hope on the horizon, though. Thanks to the people like Yolanda Watson-Spiva and her team at Complete College America, who are trying to make it easier for former dropouts to complete their college degree. They've come up with several strategies to help those comebackers succeed, such as accelerated coursework, year-round enrollment, flexible scheduling, special scholarships, college credits for demonstrated competencies, and dedicated coaching. There's also work being done to preempt college dropout from happening. In 2012, Georgia State University, one of the most innovative institutions in our country, launched a robust system of predictive analytics to totally reimagine their college advising model. After evaluating millions of student data points, Georgia State developed a system of over 800 different risk factors for dropout, which trigger one-on-one advising interventions. This approach, combined with highly targeted financial interventions like microloans, which students can use to cover gaps in tuition and fees, has raised the university's completion rate by 23% over the last decade and reduced time to degree by half a semester. This has saved students $18 million in the process. According to Timothy Rennick, the Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Success, Georgia State is currently the only public university in the nation in which Black, Latinx, first-gen, and low-income students graduate at or above the rate of the student body overall. That is to say that I dare to hope. Since I decided to return to college, the burden of being a college dropout has started to get less heavy to carry. But knowing that my story is a rare exception still keeps me awake at night. If there's one thing I want you to take from this talk, it's not that I overcame the odds. It's that so many like me never do. We need to stop privileging the experiences of traditional students and start to widen our tent to embrace the journeys of every type of learner. Every student deserves to know that college is a life-affirming experience, even if it takes them 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 tries to walk across that graduation stage.